At the beginning of the 21st century, the decision by the RAND Corporation to open an office in Pittsburgh was one of the moments that indicated that our region was turning the corner in its recovery from the collapse of its industrial economy some 20 years before. The nonprofit organization conducts public policy research and analysis from offices in California, Washington, and yes, Pittsburgh, and now even more cities across the country. Well, in the years since RAND set up shop here in 2001, the organization has researched everything from stormwater management and lead in the city of Pittsburgh's water supply to the performance of the Pittsburgh public schools and efforts to develop a workforce strategy throughout the entire tri-state region. And now there's a new woman in charge of RAND's Pittsburgh office, although Augustine is no stranger to our region. Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey for RAND Corporation since they first hung out their shingle here back in 2001. So how many people do you have here today? How big has the organization grown?
We have 246 staff now in our office.
Okay, 246, and it's one of how many offices across the United States?
One of 6, and it's the 3rd largest.
All right, very good. Why does it make sense for RAND to have an outpost in Pittsburgh?
Well, when we were founded in Pittsburgh, we wanted a place that was a lower cost of living than our offices in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., where new, more junior staff could move and start a family and buy a home. So Pittsburgh was one of several cities that we considered, and one of our trustees, Paul O'Neill at the time, convinced us to move here, and we fell in love with the city and have had no problem attracting staff to this office. In fact, we are oversubscribed. We've had to move about 25 of our staff members to an off-site location temporarily while we expand within our current building. So it was a good decision back then and remains so today.
Yeah, that's great. Well, what kind of, I mentioned a little bit in the intro, the kind of work that RAND does here in Pittsburgh. I mean, I would assume a lot of your clients are all over the country, if not the world, right?
That's true.
Yeah?
Yes. Most of our research is not focused on Pittsburgh, but I'm proud and excited that we do have a strong portfolio of work here. I'll give you some examples.
Sure.
In 2015, we began partnering with the city on its resiliency work. So Pittsburgh was one of several cities selected by the Rockefeller Foundation to build a resiliency strategy, meaning what kind of stressors or shocks are likely to impact Pittsburgh in the future, and how can the city be ready for those. And so we became the research partner, conducting several working groups across the city and the region focused on how the city should strengthen its resources in several different areas. And at the end of those 2 years, the city launched its resiliency strategy. That report, called 1PGH, is available, was unveiled back in March, and it outlines a set of goals and objectives and activities to make the city stronger. And those are nestled within people, place, performance, and planet, the P4 framework.
And all that implementation work is now ongoing, right? Within the city and its partners right now, isn't it?
Right, and RAND is continuing to monitor that. So we're developing a set of baseline indicators so everybody has a sense of where we stand now in terms of those objectives, and we will measure progress over time. And that's somewhat easy to do, right? Getting data to measure progress. But what we really want to be able to do is, if the city is not making the progress that it desires, try to figure out why that is and why investments might not be working or how they could be better shaped.
Another big issue in the region is around education and workforce, and I know RAND's been front and center in helping the region think that through as well.
That's right, and that's actually my background, is in education. So I've done several local education projects that I've been proud of. For example, I've focused for the past 10 years or so on what happens to kids when they're out of school. 87% of a child's time is spent outside of school, and when we look at disparities in educational outcomes by income, for example, we know that some of that stems from what's happening outside of the classroom. We know, for example, through census data that lower income students are not participating in outside clubs, in sports activities, and taking private lessons as much as their higher income peers. So we've built up a portfolio of work looking at students from lower income families' experiences during the summer, during after school time, on weekends, and have evaluated programs that have been put in place to try to improve those outcomes.
Oh, and I know you've been working with the Allegheny Conference and Chevron on this whole issue around workforce for the whole tri-state region as well, right?
Right. RAND has partnered with Chevron and the Allegheny Conference and Benedum and Grable and the Catalyst Connection on the Appalachian Partnership Initiative. So looking at indicators of STEM participation, starting with the K-12 public education system, but also looking at the role played by community colleges and training centers and employers themselves in trying to build a pipeline of STEM workers that will be robust and meet the current and future needs of the energy sector and advanced manufacturers here in the region.
Great to hear. Catherine Augustine from RAND Corporation, thank you so much. Continued success.
Thank you for having me.
Next up, creating new networks to build the African American business community in our region. Stay with us. This was a time when our region was the center of the most significant African American community between New York and Chicago. From the 1920s through the 50s, Pittsburgh was a center of jazz. It boasted 2 Negro League baseball teams and the Pittsburgh Courier, the most influential African American newspaper in the country. That story is detailed in a terrific new book called Smoketown. So what's it take to reinvent that kind of community for the 21st century? Well, Ralph Watson may have at least part of the answer. He's founder and CEO of Classic Events Marketing and Public Relations Group. And good to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Bill. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and you're really making it your own personal mission to kind of rebuild that community and that vitality that Pittsburgh's African American community used to have, right?
Absolutely. But I just don't gear Classic Events toward African Americans. I gear toward all entrepreneurs.
Oh, okay. That's great. So you have kind of a focus, but you really want to... Well, that's part of the deal, though. You got to make a community out of everybody if it's really going to work.
Oh, yeah. You know, and I host 6 events a year. And February 24th, I'll be hosting my 7th annual Classic Events Black History Celebration Heritage Dinner. It will be held at Hosanna House in Wilkinsburg. Luther and Roxanne Sewell, that will be, if Talk Magazine will receive the Business Vanguard Award this year.
Well, and so really just one of a series of events you do over the course of the year to really bring entrepreneurs together and build this sector in our community. If people want to find out, if they want to get involved, if they want to come to the event at the end of the month, how do they find you?
Hey, they can call me at 412-723-2414 or email me at ralph.p.watson@aol.com.
All right, Ralph Watson, Classic Events. Congratulations on the good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Bill.
Absolutely. Well, for today, we're out of time. So for the staff of our region's business and for the Allegheny Conference, I'm Bill Flanagan. Thanks for joining us and have a profitable week ahead.